helping Nigerians quickly return to normal. They came up with a policy that has failed completely, and it is time for them to quickly respond to get ordinary Nigerians back to normal. It's honestly unfortunate. I've still gone through a number of banks this morning, and the queues are still there. So we are hoping that they are going to flood the banks with these old notes between now and maybe hopefully the weekend, and then the queues at the banks would be a thing of the past, and then we can return to normal.
All right. Because as it is now, so there is the possibility of, there's the very low possibility of actually achieving sufficient naira circulation in the nearest future.
It's going to take from the information we are getting from some of the commercial banks, and then some of these people that should know that we've spoken to. It's going to take a number of days for these things to return to normal. The other one that we don't even have any information about is on the new notes. Are we printing more? Are we in the process of getting more new notes out, to push it? So if the old notes have been destroyed, how long is it going to take us to print more new notes, to ensure that your people have, again, this idea of thinking that mopping up the cash was going to stop vote buying. We had said that it was just lack of good thinking, honestly. There's no way you put it on the pedestal of proper thinking that you're able to rationalize it. So I just think that, look, the CBN should understand that, look, you tried the policy, maybe with good intentions, but bad planning have failed. Let Nigerians return to normal. This suffering is needless. And that's why we say that they should come out clean on what they are doing to get the old notes out, what they are doing with the new notes, and then begin to disburse them. Nigerians need access to funds to live their normal lives.
All right. As it is now, there's also the problem of people also withdrawing and then hoarding. So there's a possibility that even if they pump in cash into the society, if there's going to be proper circulation, because some people are withdrawing and then hoarding. All right.
Sandra, when there's no scarcity, if you hoard, you are just going to waste your time. If there's enough, the hoarding would not even make sense at the end of the day. Just because when there's scarcity, hoarding becomes a good thing for people who want to make money from it. So if there's enough, nobody's going to hoard anyway. The scarcity led to people thinking of hoarding it. So they should make it available, and then the whole hoarding thing would end.
Well, economic experts are saying that, of course, the scar of the crisis will be felt in the economy for a very long time. As it is now, the state of the economy is worsening and is compounded by the delayed intervention towards implementing the Supreme Court ruling. The scarcity of new notes shouldn't have reached an unbearable height before the response from the CBN and the president. All right, whether or not this is something that can be repaired, but whether in this administration or the incoming administration, we'll see how it goes. Also, we have still on that report, data obtained from Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIBS, indicates that the usage of e-payments gateways recorded a 41% month-on-month increase. However, despite an increase in the usage, the total value of cashless transactions fell in February, indicating that the number of failed transactions increased due to poor network infrastructure. So that is also another, issue on ground. The usage of mobile transfers, which has begun to serve as the primary payment gateway for a lot of Nigerians now, is also a serious problem due to the stress test on all of the channels. That's another one. Meanwhile, it's a slow compliance on the streets as business owners, traders, and transporters in FCT yesterday defied CBN's directive to receive or to accept old notes. It was gathered that residents of Abuja were still rejecting the old notes. Someone here says, Okechukwu Okereke said, I am not receiving the money. I heard depositing it at the bank is difficult. So what is the need? Only customers who have the new notes will board my vehicle. So that's another.
I think Nigerians should just help themselves. We should help ourselves. These notes are legal tender till December 31st. The banks have been directed to receive and also issue it out. So if anybody is not receiving it, then you are just also compounding the problem. We should help ourselves if really we want to quickly return to normal. There's no reason for anybody to reject the old notes now because they become legal tender again till December 31st. And we don't know whether the new government will even strike the whole thing out completely.
Exactly.
A new government is going to come in by, yes, they come in by May 29. They may even just strike out the whole thing or extend it beyond December 31st. But as it is now, the Supreme Court has said it is a legal tender to December 31st. CBN has given to commercial banks. So what else are we waiting for?
Just a quick one. Do you think the CBN should invest now on sensitization?
I doubt if the CBN will want to do all of that. It's not bad if they do that because they caused the destruction in the first place. But this is also where the National Orientation Agency has to come in to do their job. That's the job of the National Orientation Agency. Civil society groups. The CBN too has an advocacy unit, at the CBN there they're supposed to also join in telling Nigerians that, look, there's no reason to reject the legal tender till December 34th. So, but again, we also do our part as a radio platform, and to also sensitize Nigerians that, look, if you are refusing to collect the old notes, you're only compounding the problem. It's needless. There's no reason for that.
All right. Well, that's the major headline on the front page of The Guardian. Let's move on now. We also have here, groups urges federal government to prosecute Seplat for breaching immigration laws. Okay. And that story is on page 4 of The Guardian newspaper. Very quickly, what we have is that Make a Difference initiative, MAD, has applauded the federal government for investigating allegations of racism and nepotism against the chief executive officer of Seplat Energy, Roger Brown, by employees of the company. So now they're demanding, the human rights group is now demanding prosecution of Mr. Brown and the board of Seplat Energy for conspiracy to flout the country's immigration law. That's on page 4. That's an update on the Seplat company issues. Yes. Okay, moving on, we also have here Gilbert Poe, INEC, NSA, Read Riot Act, warn against violence. So this basically from INEC and also the National Security Advisor saying that everyone, all political parties and their supporters, everyone should, ensure that, we have a violence-free, have a violence-free election. Let's behave ourselves. Very, very important. Okay, that's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper.
But if you provide enough security, Sandra, that's just it. Provide enough security. Maybe get military backups at strategic areas. If there's enough security, people will behave themselves. You don't just say it. You have to put measures in place to ensure it.
Yes. All right. Still on the front page of the Guardian, we also have Middle Belt youths flay Shettima over secret visit to Jos. Why is someone being flayed and why is anybody secretly traveling?
To do what precisely?
Well, the Middle Belt Youth Forum has noted with disdain and contempt the recent visit of the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima to Jos shortly after the presidential election. According to the forum, they are aware of series of meetings he held with INEC and APC in Jos, allegedly to rig Saturday's governorship election in favor of APC, which the forum said would be resisted by people of the plateau. So addressing a press briefing yesterday in Jos, the acting national coordinator, Middle Belt Youth Forum, Captain Brent Kane, noted that to further accentuate his disdain for plateau people, Shettima, upon arrival in Jos, went straight to visit Izala Islamic cleric in the state, Sheikh Yahya Jingir, without paying any respect to the Wong Gwom Jos, who is the chairman of the state's traditional council. Okay, so that's a lot to take in.
Sandra, this Bapo, politicians are throwing everything into the ring. The biggest one they are using, the biggest weapon they are using, is using ethnicity and religion. If you look at this particular story now, this one is also taking an ethnic and religious dimension.
Both
is being used in this particular one now. If you understand the story, but it's just honestly, it's just pure politics. And I think we should be careful, the way we put these things into our political life, because again, after politics, these divisions are going to remain. Because we are using all of these weapons now because of political interest and the gains that we think we can get from it. But after this election, what remains? would be these divisions that we've caused. And it will take time to go if it eventually even leaves. So I'm thinking that like, politicians should please help us by not throwing everything into the ring. Campaign, let's be decent to their choice of language. Don't divide the people the more. Nigeria is heavily divided as we speak. So I just want to urge the people of Plateau. I think the Labour Party did very well in the last election in that state. And most likely they're going to have a decent showing again on the Plateau. Although the APC, who is the governor, would also want to, put everything in to ensure that the APC does well. But the reality is that the people eventually will decide, and they will decide.
At the end of the day, I guess. Well, that's that for as regards the Middle Belt youth flaying the Vice President-elect over a secret visit to Jos. More details on page 9. Moving on, we also have Delta PDP Guber candidate escapes assassination. That is on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, so what the report is saying here is the PDP governorship candidate in Delta State, Sheriff Oborowori, has escaped assassination attempt by gunmen. According to a statement yesterday by his chief press secretary, his convoy was ambushed on Sunday by gunmen who opened fire on them along Warri-Sapele Expressway. The state PDP governorship candidate, who also happens to be the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, was returning from Sapele to Osubi when the attack happened. And according to the reports, his car, of course, is bulletproof, which, by grace of God, saved his life. And his brave security men rose to the occasion by engaging the suspected assassins in a gun duel, which lasted for over 10 minutes. And then they disappeared into the thick darkness of the night. Although no life was lost, one of the security men attached sustained injuries. That is the report from Delta State, the home of the vice presidential candidate of the PDP.
Sandra, there are a lot of fears out there that the Guber polls would come with issues of violence because the politicians are getting desperate.
A
lot of the
could it be as a result of all of the the unexpected results from the presidential poll, and also the fact that states are closer to people.
States are closer to the people, and the results of presidential election and national assembly election is making these politicians desperate. Delta State, for example, the PDP performed poorly, woefully, and that's again the state of the mates of the PDP presidential candidate, the governor of Delta State. And his preferred candidate is the person we are talking about now, who is backing and all of that. And they won't be afraid to ensure the PDP wins that state. They also have a very strong opponent in the person of Obioma Agege, the APC candidate. And the Labour Party is also still talking tough in that state, that if we win the presidential election, who says we cannot win the governorship seat in that state? Most of the politicians are getting desperate, closer to the people. The guys are also looking at what happened at the last elections, and everybody's fighting for their dear life, for their political life and survival. So I think the NSC, beyond just talking, beyond issuing statements and INEC, to work together now to provide enough security this coming Saturday, because it's looking like things are going to get a bit rough and tough out there on Saturday. For elections that are always close to the people, that are closer to people, is always like that anyway. So it's important that the NSA, the police, the army, all begin to look at ways of ensuring that the election is peaceful by providing enough security. It's going to be a bit tougher than what we saw in February 25.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Fad. More details of that on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here rule of law. Over 130 CSOs lawyers insist Bauer must go. So the embattled EFCC chairman still has a lot of answers to give, I guess, or still has a lot that he's going through at the moment. Story is on page 4, and what the details of the story is that not relenting, about 130 frontline anti-corruption CSO civil society organizations have resumed their call for the sack of chairman of EFCC Abdul Rashid Bauer over alleged politicization of the commission, disobedience of court orders, and infringement on citizens' rights, among others. So this story has been for a long time coming. I remember the time that he was arrested.
And for contempt.
Okay, that's so.
Yeah, almost on 2 occasions now he has been charged for contempt of court. And yesterday I discussed the issue of checks and balance in democracy. In the textbook, what you have is that we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. That 3 levels of checks and balances. But the reality, Sandra, is that look, we now have 5. And the 4th and the 5th. The 4th is the media. That's the 4th estate of the realm. The 5th is the civil society organizations, organized labor, and the ordinary people. In case these guys don't know. And I like the fact that the CSOs are holding into account on the issue of contempt of court and violation of human rights. That's how to build a nation. So if there are cases that look, there are violations of human rights, there are disobedience to court judgments from the EFCC chairman, I like the pressure that the CSOs are putting on him. So that's again the beauty of democracy, that the CSOs, civil society organizations, organized labor groups and unions can also understand that they have the powers to. So beyond the legislature and the judiciary and the executive, the media performs its own role by setting the agenda, holding the people to account, giving out information to people. But the civil society organizations also must know that they have a role to play in the democracy, and that's what they are doing. Hold them to account, put pressure on them, and that's what they are doing to the executive chairman. And I like it. That's the beauty of democracy.
Okay. Well, a lot of reports as regards the activities of the EFCC and also the attitude of the chairman himself. More details on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, from the Guardian, don't present Igbo senator with EFCC baggage as Senate president, says Ohaneze. Okay, so this is interesting. I'm invested in this particular
one. You know the baggage. Just read the story. Just try to enjoy yourself.
All right, so a faction, not the entire one, so very important to note. A faction of Ohaneze Ndigbo has appealed to the APC not to present any Igbo senator who has cases with the EFCC, noting that such plot could smear the image of the administration and present Igbo in bad light.
Who is the senator they are talking about, Sandra? I'm asking you.
All right.
And I know you know.
No. So what it says here is if a former governor, or a governor, is it a governor now? Is it a governor now? Is it a governor?
No. It's a former governor. I'm sure they are talking about Jews or Kalu.
Well, as it is now, it didn't expressly mention any name, but
I'm glad the person you are talking about.
All right, so there has been suspicion over alleged plots to foist the Senate president from the zone that will rock the Bola Tinubu presidency. And they're urging the forthcoming 10th Senate to adopt legitimate measures to ensure emergence of reliable leadership. He maintained, that is a rep or the Secretary General of the faction of Ohaneze that is speaking, maintained that Southeast does not need hatchet men of certain governors who, as Senate president, will be misrepresenting Igbo in favor of their masters. And he advocated the need for the doctrine of necessity such that some house rules could be reversed, paving way for the best for the Senate president to emerge, not minding if he or she is a greenhorn. It said, Umahi.
Let me explain. Okay, go on. Just go on.
Umahi fits into this. When some politicians were pursuing selfish interests, Umahi, who is currently the senator-elect for Ebonyi South Senatorial District, took his people into the mainstream of Nigerian politics like you saw tomorrow. So Dave Umahi is totally brand new in the Senate. And this faction of Ohaneze
is a returning senator.
Is a returning senator. And this, faction of Ohaneze Ndigbo is saying, Ojus Okalu, they didn't mention him, but then
I say that is the one they are talking about.
But we know who they are talking about, of course. And they're saying, okay, he has issues with the EFCC. However, this one, yes, the greenhorn, yes, is new in the Senate. You can use him as the Senate president because he has.
And bend the rules of the Senate that talks about you can't become Senate president if you are a first timer in the chamber.
Reverse. You don't say bend, say reverse. But
Eh,
but what are your thoughts though, as regards Dave Umahi,
you see,
the possibility
mm,
of Dave Umahi emerging as Senate President?
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because the rules of the House, these are rules that they've maintained for long. That even for principal positions, not just the Senate presidency or the speakership,
Mm.
they ensure that chairman of committees, principal officers, and all of that are actually returning senators and representatives. Not first timers because they feel that this thing comes with some level of experience and all of that. It's going to be tough for David Umahi, although as a governor, one would say, oh, he's experienced enough to be able to handle the job. But legislative duties are a bit different from executive duties, which he did as a governor. So if indeed the APC is zoning the Senate presidency to South, the most qualified, based on rules that the House has been following, the Senate has been following, would be Ojus or Kalu. But there are people who are also questioning having Ojus or Kalu as the Senate president because that's the number 3 person. He will be the number 3 person in the country. Because again, he has CSC issues, and all of that. So for people who are also demanding that such a person should not become Senate president, has also their own valid point. But again, if the APC, because beyond the Southeast, the South is also positioning itself for the Senate presidency. They are also arguing that, look, if they are going to be looking at performance and what you are able to bring to the table, the South was able to deliver more to the APC than the Southeast in terms of votes. And the senator that they are pushing forward in the South is a returning senator also, is Godswill Akpabio, who was a former senator too, is not a first timer, although the last time out he lost, but he's back to the Senate now. So they are also saying that, look, who says that Godswill Akpabio cannot become Senate president? So that's the dilemma of, we talked about this issue on the political roundtable. That's the dilemma of the APC now. Who gets the Senate presidency and other principal positions? And as I speak to you, the Northwest is also saying, why not? If not, because as it is, the president is from the Southwest, the vice president-elect is from the Northeast. So what will the Northwest get? And they are even arguing that the Northwest actually delivered the votes that has made their actually emerge as president-elect. So it's a very tough one, and in all of that is also the problem of the Muslim ticket of the APC. Because if they have to balance it now, you can't have a Muslim president-elect, a Muslim vice president-elect, and then you have a northerner of Muslim extraction also becoming the Senate president. And then speaker is also another problem. So most likely this zoning will go to the South, but where in the South it will go to is the problem now.
All right. Well, more details on page 7 as regards the tussle within who becomes Senate president. It's going to be an interesting drama to watch. We didn't get any information from the meeting that the APC chieftains had on Monday. We've not gotten any information from there, but we know that by next week or so we would know there'll be some indications as regards who would become what. But one thing is certain, the current speaker is returning to the House as a floor member. That is one thing that,
you can't become speaker here unless there's an abracadabra, and I know it's going to happen.
Then there's no abracadabra. And when it's not, who sang abracadabra again? I've forgotten. All right, let's move on to the Nation newspaper. Now you're listening to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM, the sound of Lagos. You can watch the program live on YouTube and Facebook at Mainland 98.3 FM. Now we're moving on to the Nation newspaper. The major headline on the front page of the Nation says, banks limit customers to 20,000 naira over the counter. And the riders to that, branches expect more allocation from CBN. Don't reject notes, says governors. So it's just an addendum to the conversation that we had as regards Naira crisis from the Guardian newspaper. The fact that even the banks have to ration the cash because they don't have enough cash with them in the banking halls. There were long queues at different branches. Many ATMs, which were abandoned for weeks, suddenly became a beehive of activities as customers made cash withdrawals. But some ATMs were still empty. Many banks in the FCT had no cash. They said that the CBN had not released money to meet the demand as it is now. Some banks are paying 10,000 naira over the counter. Some are paying 5,000 naira over the counter. So we hope that very soon something will be done. CBN will release cash and normalcy will return to the economy. But as it is now, the economy has severely been impacted, negatively.
Negatively.
Yes, with as regards the cash policy by the CBN.
Cash confiscation. Cash hijack, cash kidnap.
It's okay. It's okay. Where is the cash? I like this question. That's what is written here on the Nation newspaper. Where is the cash? Okay, so you said we can.
Where is our cash? It should be where is our cash?
Where is our cash? It's okay. Well, that's the question on the front page of the Nation newspaper, just underneath the picture there. Where is the cash? Well,
our cash.
We were asking now, where is our cash? I have money, so where is my money? Let me spend it. More details on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Moving on, we also have here, foreign airlines trapped cash has now risen to $743.7 million. Lord have mercy. As at some months ago, we were talking about $400 million. Yes, that's what as at some months ago. And now, yes, foreign airlines trapped funds in Nigeria has risen to $743 million. As at December, it stood at 549 million, and in January it rose to 662. The updated amount is contained in a letter titled Special Appeal on Airlines Blocked Funds in Nigeria, signed by Area Manager of West and Central Africa, and it was addressed to Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika. The elections, just distracted us from so many many
about some of these stories,
many situations that we were talking about last year, that were like, oh, what is going to happen, the fact that a lot of airlines had to drop and said we can't continue like this. They had to close their Nigerian offices. We can't continue like this. We need our money to be able to function. So we have this now. They have written that the money is going up. It's still going up, and they've written a letter to Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika. But then I just want to ask a question before if you maybe have something to say as regards this particular story. Do you think this administration, do you think maybe emotionally or psychologically or physically they are still present in their offices? Or they're just waiting for May 29 and they just skedaddle and just leave the baggage for the next administration?
I think that the next administration will inherit a lot of baggage. That's the problem.
Yeah, so you think that the people currently in these offices, they're just like, let's just sit back and relax and just wait to hand over.
They're just marking time. They just want to leave. It's obvious from a lot of the unresolved issues on their tables in different offices and parastatals, and some of the issues that we highlight on a daily basis. You know that they are just marking time, hoping to get the final whistle to just find their files and leave. Again, it would be nice to quickly start the transition process, Sandra, so that the new government can begin to exchange notes, exchange files, get correspondences, understand the true situation of things before the next transition takes over. I like the fact that the transition committee has already been set up, but I think they need to start to work immediately. They need to start to meet with, especially in sensitive positions. For example, the CBN. We need to begin to know what is happening in that place. The NNPC, the Ministry of Finance. Again, if you look at this story, Sandra, how do you encourage foreign direct investment now with this kind of situation? Because how do you guarantee their confidence that we're a country that can do the proper things? If people have come, they deliver the service, and then their funds are trapped for months, and nothing is being done about it. Look at the way the figures are rising. I think sometime last year it was around $400 million.
Yes, and by December it was 500. By January it's 600, and now we're in March it is 700.
And I've gone through the entire story. We've reviewed the story severally. We've even tried to reach out to the authorities involved, and nobody's giving any meaningful explanation on why these funds are trapped in Nigeria. So far, the Minister of Aviation has not even come out to explain anything meaningful as to the reason why these funds are trapped. Then you have the back and forth between the CBN, the Ministry of Aviation, and everybody keeps deflecting responsibility and giving excuses for this failure. So how do you encourage foreign investment to come into this country with this situation?
Well, as regards the trapped cash as the foreign airlines trapped cash, and the federal government is promising to clear the backlogs. We'll see, how that would be done.
When?
Well, I don't think there's a timeline given, but they have promised to clear backlogs. That is,
okay.
Yes, that's one thing that I've taken from that one. Well, more details on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. More details there. Very quickly, I also have here Rivers Assembly candidates abducted. How's it feel?
We talked about the security and the desperation of our politicians.
Exactly. As regards, the governorship, So what we have is that the Accord Party House of Assembly candidate for Onelga constituency 2, Chukwudi Ogbonna, has been kidnapped by gunmen. Ogbonna, popularly called the Ori of Orashi, was reportedly abducted along the Psychiatric Road at about 8 p.m. on Monday while he was on his way to GRA for a meeting. This is very unfortunate. They used his vehicle to whisk him away to an unknown place. They heard this morning that they had contacted his wife and told her he was okay. They did not demand any ransom. Well, whatever that is all about, I hope that he is safe, or we pray that he is safe. More details on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. Also on page 25, lady kills landlord over electricity bill. So that's another story that was a serious conversation yesterday. A 33-year-old single lady, Ifoma Osai, has been arrested for killing her 50-year-old landlord over a minor disagreement pertaining to electricity bill. Miss Osai, who was said to be enraged during the disagreement, allegedly thrust both hands into her landlord's private parts, grabbed his manhood, and used it to pull him until he fell to the ground unconscious. And he said the landlord was rushed to the hospital, but a doctor on duty confirmed him dead. A 50-year-old man. I don't understand. Pay your NEPA bill, don't pay your NEPA bill, and then you go for his private parts. And now the man is dead, and now you're in jail. That's very unfortunate.
And she's going to be charged for murder. Maybe at the end of the day, manslaughter and all of that. But at the end of the day, this is again, I think people should learn to manage their anger.
Yes, thank you.
People who have anger. Like they always say, you know the beginning of this thing, you don't know how it's going to end.
How it's going to end.
So I just think people should be very careful when things like this come up. People are always ready to fight. Any little thing they want to fight.
Page 25.
I'm sure she'll be regretting her actions now.
Yes, I really don't get why the privates do. I mean, if you're upset with someone, why
does the man not wearing trousers?
Why are you asking me that for her?
Maybe the story. Maybe there's details in the story.
More details on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. 3 years after, China reopens borders to foreigners. That's on page 3. We'll discuss that on Global View. Now, above the masthead of the Nation newspaper, we have here Dosumu, other Lagos PDP bigwigs back Sanwo-Olu. So a lot of parties have been collapsing structures for the APC in Lagos State. No. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Fuad.
I told you now, Sandra. Most of these guys were just.
Are you saying the NNPP did not have a structure? The NNPP.
Sandra, the offering is real, and I'll tell you, most of these guys went to those political parties, took their tickets, so that they can eventually negotiate with it, and that's what they are doing now.
Well, I have. We can get first-hand information from the SDP governorship candidate who was in our studio yesterday. You can our listeners can go and watch the show, a rerun of the show on our YouTube channel. There he said a lot, he spoke a lot, and you can obviously you can read his rage from. And
I picture the man really.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like he's just left.
It's what he said basically.
He's running solo.
Your running mates ran away to go and endorse.
Now the party people too.
The party ESCO also ran away, and he said it clearly that they only went there to negotiate. It's all about money.
That's quite unfortunate. But then let's not give all the details. Let's encourage our listeners, go and watch the entire run of the show on our YouTube channel. Just yesterday on the Situation Room with Okoyemi Akiyonde, he revealed quite a lot. You can even from his expressions and emotions. It was an emotional one for him. That's the SDP Guba candidate in Lagos State. Yes, Kule Uthman. All right. Lagos PDP bigwigs are back in Sanwo-Olu. More details on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. Global crisis likely with collapse of 2 U.S. banks. Oh, dear Lord. That's on page 4. I'm running very quickly. We still have 2 more papers to look through.
Move very fast.
More than $100 billion have been wiped off in banks' value in the United States following the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. The collapse of the bank has been sending shockwaves through Wall Street. Trading was temporarily halted. Wow, that's huge. As it is now, many major banks in the U.S. were also affected by the crash, with Wells Fargo plummeting 7.5%, Bank of America falling 7.4%, Citigroup plunging 5.8%, and JP Morgan down to 2.7%. These are big banks in the US. So we'll see how that turns out. More details on page 4. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, the federal government reserves $618 million for youths in tech, says the vice president. Okay, that's on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. Let's move on now to the Punch very quickly. The major headline: Naira crisis, banks ration old notes. NLC insists on 7-day ultimatum. And right after that, customers lament as CBN retains withdrawal old notes deposit limits. Fuel stations, traders, motorists accept old notes. POS agents. Some POS agents are in trouble right now. Fuad, I just have to quickly chip this in. A lot of POS agents that were charging high, a lot of people are planning to boycott them, after this. I just had to put that in. All right, CBN mom on disbursement of more old notes to banks. More details on page 2. Review 1,000 Naira NIN fee. Council tells NIMC. So there's the 1,000 Naira fee that you have to pay when you're applying for passports. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Verify your NIN number. I don't know why.
I don't understand. I
think verification of NIN is on the NIN website. We basically just go there, punch in the numbers, and then it's
exactly. So why am I paying 1,000? Am I paying for the data they are using to check it on online?
Yesterday they said to make it faster, the processing faster. What are you processing?
I don't get.
Again, are we going to be paying for everything and anything?
I can sit in my house and check my NIN. There's a code.
So there's even a code you can punch on your phone number that will bring it out.
That will bring it out.
I'm wondering where this idea of the 1,000 Naira to check. Again, the revenue drive of agencies, one has to be questioned.
Well, they're calling for review of that fee. We'll see more about that. But more details on page 9 as the council is telling NIMC to review the 1,000 NIN fee. That's on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Fuel price hike imminent over poor supply. Marketers warn. That is also still a situation that we're experiencing in this country. I said it earlier, the election seemed to have, distracted us a lot from the major issues that we're all going through now. And now we have the fact that governors are vying for posts and we can't have issue-based conversations because they are all, desperate. The results from the presidential poll just, it shook the political world in Nigeria. All right, but then fuel price hike imminent over poor supply, marketers have warned. That's on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here dollar shortage, banks slash travel allowance, foreign school fees. And that's on page 35 of the Punch newspaper.
I think we should stop. I've always been saying this thing. If we're going to fix our forex issues, our foreign exchange issues, the first is to cancel these 2 levels of exchange. The second one would be for us to reserve our dollars for essential things, very important things. If anybody wants to travel, just go to the open market and go and source your dollars. If you have enough money to send your child to a foreign school, go and source for your dollars. But this idea of getting DTAs, getting official $8 to of that. I just stop it. We can't afford it. And it's around.
Hello?
Hello, are you, Sandra?
Okay, it's better now.
There's a lot of fraud going on with that thing. We need to just stop it. Like you say, desperate times call for desperate measures. Can we just allow people to go and search for their BCA in the open market? If you want to go abroad, go and look for a dollar. Because the idea of signals funding this thing has opened it up to a lot of racketeering and fraud.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's move on now to Vanguard newspaper. And the major headline on the front page of Vanguard: 3 days to polls. Intrigues as governors, others intensify battle for states. It's so interesting to watch. What a wonderful time to witness in the election season in Nigeria. For I've never witnessed the kind of aggression, the kind of passion that we are seeing.
And the comic relief that are coming from it.
I mean, a governor is now a mechanic. I don't get it. You know,
some of those misinformation too. Some of the old pictures are being used as new ones. I've seen someone old pictures, being used as if it's a new one and all of that.
No. Yes, of course. I get where you are coming from. But then I'm saying that in this time now, there are so many things that we had thought was, gone with the wind. But then we are seeing re-emergence of all of these things. We are the presidential campaign brought about the fact that a lot of people were now focused on issue-based conversations, but then now we have that the results of that has pushed a lot of things. A lot of things are coming up, a lot of things are coming out now. That's the intrigue about this particular governorship elections. But then it just makes it all interesting to watch. It makes it very interesting to be a part of. Let's see how
all of them are begging, apologizing, now reaching out to their constituents. An assembly member somewhere in Surulere now is crying and begging and saying,
he's apologizing. After 4 years. Why didn't he apologize for 4 years?
Well, he did not even apologize. Just do well with your people. Be available. Do the right thing with your people. Make them feel you. But when you stay away from them and then you need votes to come every 4 years and you think that you're going to pander to your wishes, they'll be part of bitter lessons and most of them.
Write us to that story. Alignment, realignments, squabbles, endorsements reign. Accord, OPC endorse Sanwo-Olu. Accord. We had.
Why are you surprised?
We had the accord given.
What did you do, right?
Yes, Akim Olaogun.
Akim Dixon. I told you, Sandra, you forget things. When I was telling you things, you thought I was
your SDP governorship candidate steps down from Makinde. Why we endorsed Governor Abiodun Accord.
PDP. Sandra. Why are you surprised?
PDP, APC, 12 others signed peace accord in Akwa Ibom. Labour Party declined alignment with PDP in Kaduna. The registered parties back APC's Sani. Aggrieved APC members unite for Emenike in Abia. So many intrigues. I love what is happening. On the as regards.
And the 1 week extension is also helping these guys to go around
to push further. Yes. More details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. It just means that now, the electorate is now, is awakened, has been awakened, and now they're like, okay, so we need to know what have you got to offer. But just as Fuad has always said, especially for returning officers, you shouldn't even have to campaign much. Your performance should be,
the scorecard should be what you're campaigning with.
That's it. You shouldn't have to go around and carrying babies and begging people and apologizing for what happened 4 years ago and all of that. Your performance is all that you need to say, okay, I did this, allow me to do it again. Okay. All right. So we'll take a short break. We'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, where you'll be a part of the conversation. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Today is Wednesday, so there's Ballot 23 by 4 p.m. All right. So there's a lot to look forward to on the station today. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Every day, there are transactions in the digital space and amazing profit.